there, it's Kevin with the Rogue Market here with a market update video. It's been a while since I've done one of these videos. I thought I would jump on the bandwagon and talk about the free fall that we are seeing in the Magic the Gathering world with a lot of popular content creators, even at Tulane Community College, the #1 content creator for Magic the Gathering, that are just so disillusioned by what has been going on with the Amazon drops, as well as the 30th anniversary cash grab, and just a lot of other nonsense that's been going on. I have made my feelings known on my other channels, Gone Rogue Games and the Rogue Deck Builder. If you're not subscribed to those channels, highly encourage you to do so if you want to keep up to date with the things that I post. I try to post kind of a spread on each one of these channels. One of these years, I'm going to get back to doing consistent videos on all three of them. But for now, that's the best way to keep in contact with me. Anyways, back to the discussion at hand. We have people like Tulane Community College that are very disillusioned by Magic the Gathering, and they started to endorse other games like Flesh and Blood. So he has endorsed it before. He is an advocate for the game, has played it, has been to tournaments and such. But man, oh man, has he just been burning Wizards of the Coast on Twitter, as well as on his YouTube videos about the blatant cash grabs and disregard for what the community wants. And then has followed up those posts with really endorsing Flesh and Blood and their game store centric model, where they're trying to funnel everything through the game stores to the community, through gathering people together to play their game rather than going for cheap gimmicks or online play, or dropping stuff on Amazon, yada yada yada. Now, I have been impressed with Flesh and Blood. Channel Fireball really screwed up their business model. They're doing some shady things, and I believe they dropped them for it. So they did the same thing. CFB did the same thing with Magic. What they were doing is they were the tournament providers for both of the games, and they got sweet deals for doing so. So they got product at a much lower cost than anyone else just to run the tournaments. And the rumor is what Channel Fireball was doing is they're over-ordering. They're saying, hey, we want this amount to run our tournaments, and pocketing a huge supply of it, to then they could then just sell on their website for cheaper than anyone else could do so. And it just really messed up both markets for MTG and Flesh and Blood. And now I don't know if CFP was, I think they were purchased by TCC Player. I don't know if they're still in that kind of game, but I mean, there's just been some really shady stuff behind the scenes with these type of markets affecting the prices and making it very difficult, with Amazon also competing for the local game store business, where local game stores just really could not compete. It's affected the distribution. Distributors are really tightening their belts because they also can't compete when things are being dropped on Amazon. I mean, I'll have to do an entire video discussing this, but let's get back to the hand before I get sidetracked about Tulane Community College and what this might mean for the Flesh and Blood market. Now, there are two content creators that I think really move the market. And the first one being, of course, Alpha Investments. Whenever he decides to shill a product or talk about a product, it goes nuts. There are so many people that buy into the FOMO and follow the trends of what he's talking about. But the second one definitely would be Tulane Community College. He has a massive audience on all the platforms like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and really the premier content creator for Magic the Gathering. So when someone of his caliber re-endorses Flesh and Blood, will we see a market movement? And I am starting to see signs of Flesh and Blood recovering. Like I said, they are still reeling from a lot of stores dropping them, a lot of people getting out of the game, because what happened is the print runs were increased way too quickly based on the actual demand of the game. So we saw like the first edition booster boxes would go for thousands of dollars, and we just had so many speculators preying on speculators. And if you go back to some of my old videos, I warned that this was going to happen, and I'd have people tell me I was just full of it. It was just, I said it was FOMO of people really thinking they're going to get in on like the Black Lotus, and all these people they're like, I used to play when Black Lotuses were in circulation. I'm not going to miss out on Flesh and Blood. And so they bought into these, alpha boosters, thinking that it's going to have the exact same trajectory as Magic the Gathering. But Magic the Gathering has 30 years of being around, in existence, and nostalgia and build-up, of a community build-up to justify the prices for $1,000 booster boxes and $1,000 cards. Flesh and Blood never did, and we've seen a massive freefall in the first edition, but not really even the first edition. Unlimited boxes just got absolutely crushed. So most of the original, like Welcome to Wraith, and the few of the other sets like Monarch First Edition got completely hammered too. They went from being $400 to $500 down to be worth by maybe over $100. They're slightly more than the unlimited versions. And that's what I was saying from the very beginning. There wasn't a lot of difference between a cold foil and a rainbow foil really having demand and justifying the massive price difference. Not saying that first edition boxes should be worth more, they should, but not like 10 times X or 20 times X, or just like one box being worthless and one box being insanely expensive. We're seeing the same thing kind of happen with MetaZoo and some of these other My Hero Academia, all this nonsense of first edition, all that FOMO crap is pretty much over with when people realize that, you need some actual demand for the game and nostalgia start building up and all these other, need that huge community behind it before anything starts to be this hyper collectability that we see in Pokemon and Magic. So without that nonsense out of the way, we're seeing Flesh and Blood actually recover back to levels that are sustainable, and they are consistent with the demand that the game is actually stripping from the supply. So that is good news. I actually think this is a good time to get back into Flesh and Blood because that is addressed. I do not like the hypes. I do not like the FOMOs. I do not like the Dutch tuliping. I think that those are always cancer for a market, and it is very nice to see that Flesh and Blood has finally embraced that, stopped listening to the alpha investments and all these other highly collectible experts that think that they can steer a game to these crazy buys. It crashed and burned, in my opinion, due to the double whammy of the FOMO and, like I said, the shady business practices of people that were supposed to be, good business partners that ended up blowing out the product to where local game stores dropped the game because they just couldn't sell boxes and cards at any sort of profitability. Now, that's my warning for Magic the Gathering, too, with these Amazon drops. So we have the first one here. I love this tweet by Tony Community College. It absolutely eviscerates Wizards of the Coast. Thank you to the local game stores without whom 30 years of Magic the Gathering would not be possible. They take out the small business loans. They take out the risk. They grow the community. They stuck with you and grew the game through good times and bads. Thank you for 30 years. And it's just a tweet that retweeting the Magic the Gathering. Amazon has some sweet deals. And if you actually look down the deals, it's $68 Innistrad Midnight Hunt set booster boxes. If I were to get those from distributors right now, they cost me about $95. So, I mean, the average Joe can get free shipping Amazon Prime for $68.99. Like, why would I order from a distributor? This is also creating a lot of tension right now between distributors and store owners because in our contracts with Wizards of the Coast, we are not supposed to buy anything that is still considered in print. We are not supposed to buy from anywhere except for authorized distribution. You can lose your WPN by actually buying from places like Amazon. So a lot of stores want to be, I mean, you signed a contract. You made these business deals. You don't want to go back on those deals. And so you see that the average Joe, not only can you not stock are people not buying your product, but you can't even stock your damn shelves with the price that the regular average old Joe can actually get it at. And so it's caused just a whirlwind of negativity between distributors, between customers, between local game stores that were. Magic, I think, is in for a rough time at the local game store level. Now, there is always the argument, do local game stores even matter? That people can just buy product, play at their kitchen? And I would say yes. If anything has taught us that both MTGO and Arena have been massive failures as far as, I mean, I know they're successful, I know they're profitable, but in the scope of where Wizards of the Coast thought that they were going to become an esport, thought they were going to become an e-game, they have been massive failures for what Wizards of the Coast has expected them to do. Both of them have stagnated and flattened out, and Arena is at very low, comparatively speaking to some of the peaks that it's had, and it's just not a game that people enjoy playing. Magic the Gathering and other collectible card games have an edge over the other e-games by being something that is in person. It's like, I've mentioned, it's like going to the bar for nerds is what a local game store is, or a bowling night or whatever. This is where people gather, they socialize, and they do it by playing games. And the board game industry went through this, and they realized they had to get back in the brick and mortars, they had to get back in the local game stores, and it's only a matter of time before I think that Wizards of the Coast will reevaluate and say, hey, yeah, maybe these profit margins on Amazon and this direct-to-consumer thing is better in the short term, but the long-term health of the game, it is, not going to work out. And I think Southern Community College points this out beautifully in his post that this is 30 years of distributors and local game stores taking on this bulk risk for Magic the Gathering, helping to grow the game. I've never seen a fan base quite as just excited like Magic is to, how many other people start stores for something, like hobby stores? Magic is a big deal for a lot of people starting stores, and taking on that risk. And I think that Wizards really underestimates the amount of growth and the amount of sales that actually leads to. These are free advertisements that are placed in every town for Magic the Gathering, with their Friday Night Magics, with their game days, with all these the Commander Nights, all those things that lead to sales and lead to these dumb Amazon sales. So great post by Turner Community College, and he followed it up not like without missing beat. Followed it up with this video about why he believes in Flesh and Blood and what the things that the manufacturers of Flesh and Blood are doing to really cultivate the local game store scene. It is a game that was built by players for players to be shared by players at one-on-one table. They don't even have a electronic game for or an online game for Flesh and Blood. People have made some simulators and stuff like that, but there is an official one where you can actually play the game at the moment. So that is their goal, is to bring back the game store. And so that's one of the reasons why Tony College has gone all in. So that's kind of my spiel. Like I said, I could go on and on and on with a big, in-depth rant video about Magic the Gathering, which I will be doing on my Rogue Deck Builder channel when I get some time to really get my thoughts together and just spill it all out there of how I'm feeling about Magic the Gathering. But I guess this is the age-old question: is this going to be enough? I've seen it all through. So even on my video comments, there are people who are like, "Leave Magic, come to Flesh and Blood, come to Flesh and Blood." So my whole 2 cents on that before I get moving into it: I like Flesh and Blood. I think it's a neat game. It's just not Magic for me. Magic has this place in my heart as being A, nostalgic, and B, there's just the possibilities are so endless with Magic the Gathering. Flesh and Blood is not there. It's not a game that has that depth of brewing and exploring. Again, it's a great game. Flesh and Blood is a great game. There's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of tuning decks. There's a lot of getting excited out of new cards that come out, but it's just not to the level for me as Magic the Gathering. Is it a game that will survive? Absolutely. Is it a game that I think people will pick up and play? It's been doing good, but I think that it doesn't have that full spectrum of being able to appeal to the casual, the competitive, and everything in between like Magic the Gathering does. And that's what makes Magic the Gathering so beautiful, is it's fun at every single tier of that kind of progression of a player. Casual, all the way from kitchen table to play once per year, to play like a board game, all the way to ultra hyper competitive, play daily type stuff. Flesh and Blood seems to be, it's really, you have kind of the middle ground, people that will play every now and again, and came from other games that are but are still gamers. And then you have the people that are really competitive into it. I don't see that like casual aspect to Flesh and Blood. However, is it a game that is going to be surviving long term? And B, is it investable? Is it something that you can actually, if you want to be like, okay, have this product for years to come, is it going to accrue value? Is it going to have worth? And that's kind of the question that I guess we'll have to look into. So I actually what I'm doing now, here's my shill time. So what I'm going to be doing on all of my channels is I'll probably be inserting these drops when I talk about specific products. So I think that I'm not just going to try to shield product to you. I'm going to try to justify the product that I do with these drops and try to give people that are patrons and subscribers good deals to be able to get in on the action, or just be able to get cheap product. So if you haven't checked out my Patreon, I highly suggest to go over to patreon.com/roguedeckbuilder and get in on the action. I try to sell you everything at cost if I can get it from distributors. Like, I'm not going to compete with Amazon. I'm not going to compete with the channel fireballs and stuff, blowing things out for under distributor costs. How it works for me is you basically just get the perks of owning a store yourself. You can order from me at distributor price, just pay for shipping and any fees associated with it, and I will get you product. I have different tier levels of how much product you can get per month. So it's a great little symbiotic relationship. You support me, you support my local game store, you keep my head above water while I have to compete with this nonsense of Amazon dropping things for $6 to $8. And I allow you to get product for at cost, and sometimes too there are some good deals we can get that Amazon can't get. The things are more specific to, there will be a drop of some sort of older set or something like that I can actually get to people at very, very low cost compared to TCG Player or eBay prices. So anyway, check that out. That's enough shilling for that. And I'll have a drop at the end of this video of really showcasing these 3 products I like from Flesh and Blood. However, let's look over them right now. I guess I'll just talk about the drops. So right now what I got going on, and so this little cheat sheet here for what I got going on. This is my commonly ordered items spreadsheet as I just add to what I can actually order from distributor and how much it cost me to order from distributors. You can see right now it cost me about $87 to get draft boosters after PayPal fees and distributor fees. Then we have the set boosters at like 103-ish. We've had a huge increase in prices lately, a good 10%, 50% increase on those, which kind of sucks because, you know, that hasn't reflected yet on Amazon or eBay. But anyway, another story for another day. But if you click over here in this tab at the very bottom, you can go to the drops, and I'll have drops as first come, first serve. And so I think I'm going to have 5 of these available. So I call this the Flesh and Blood Holy Trinity drop. You're going to get a History Pack, Volume 1, Arcane Rising, and a Crucible of War booster box. These are all unlimited. And the price is $250. The TCG market price is about $270 right now, so you can save $20. So again, this is a nice little perk. You scratch my back, I scratch your back for the Patreon, and I just like to have the comfort of knowing I have a steady static income coming in, and don't mind to then serve people at basically cost and, you know, do the hard work, do the hard grind to get people a cheap product. Yes, I mean, it's not significant. I mean, this is about as cheap as I can get stuff for, but you do save. It's easy if you do use your patron perks to at least get your money back and more, and then still have the flexibility knowing that you can get a variety of products, as well as you're hoping out an actual brick and mortar local game store that has table space, that has a player group, that has all that jazz and whatnot. Anyway, let's go back to what I was talking about. So the Flesh and Blood, this is the question, is the TCC going to bump up the market? The videos were released around here. We have seen a bump in the Arcane Rising. So Arcane Rising is about the latest sales. This is the best way to show actually what's moving. I don't like their market price or their mid prices. It's so weird to get a hold of it because they sometimes include like these opened boxes that really mess with the price. But anyway, so you can actually look at these suckers, and the latest ones have been going for 105. So actually is a nice little increase from even a week ago of trending around. What were they going for a week ago? They were going for all the way. Yeah, look at the 69. It probably had huge shipping on it or some other something wrong with it. But yeah, it's up about $5 from a week ago, so that's a good sign for the Arcane Rising. The other one being Crucible of War. This one is still kind of trending down, but it's still worth $70. I think what the main thing this one has going against it is a lot of the cards that were in Crucible of War were reprinted in History Pack Volume 1, but this is still a good way to get the black border versions of these cards that might have some more collectability long term if people don't want to white border their cards out. That is something that the creator of Flesh and Blood wanted to do with reprint sets. He wanted to actually take Magic's when they did it back in the day of saying, okay, original OG cards will be black bordered. That'll be the people that got in early will have these nice little black border cards. Any sort of these reprint sets will be white bordered and probably be have less of a appeal, which is funny though, because a lot of people actually like the white border cards. And one thing I do like, there can be some tournament problems in the long term if people being able to see what cards are coming up. That's what I kind of shook my head at that decision. But anyway, black border cards version of these will still be in the Crucible of War. I think this is, I mean, it stayed very consistent because it seems like everyone is still picking this $68.70. Yeah, so it's probably coming from this store right here is what people are picking at the moment. There have been a few ones that are undercutting by a couple pennies here, but this is the consistent price. No one's going below this, which is still pretty good for a Crucible War box, and it should be starting to trend up when this kind of the supply is finally eaten up. So I like Crucible War because there's just so many cards that are jam packed. So this is a flex set, meaning that it doesn't have a particular like theme to it, like particular characters. They just printed cards that actually go with characters, with classes, and a lot of them are super powerful. Especially some of the generic cards from Crucible of War are very their staples are very powerful. And this set actually a long time ago did go for a pretty penny. Yeah, it went all the way up to $100 not too long ago. So I do expect that to recover. I do expect Flesh and Blood Crucible War boxes to be something that will last the test of time. The main thing that has going for it is a lot of them were reprinted in the History Pack 1 because they were actually needed. So this was trying to get cards in that people needed for decks. History Pack Volume 1 was released. There's jam-packed full of value. There are no foils. It's all white bordered. But these are still trending very well around the $100. You can see the past sales history. It's been very consistent. I mean, this is a good sign too when you see like 6 boxes opened a day or stretched out a day. And wow, it actually does seem there has been a huge pickup too from since these videos were released of people actually buying the Flesh and Blood. So these are the ones that I have available right now for, like I said, the Holy Trinity of Flesh and Blood. So I have 5 available. These are first come, first serves. They do not count against your Patreon allocations. So if you do purchase this, I just I'll go down in the numbers. I try to do one per patron just to try to spread it around, and these will stay on this list until they are purchased. There is still this non-magic intro kit for Flesh and Blood Classic Battles Dorinthia versus Rhinar, Pokemon Lost Origins Build and Battle Stadium, and MetaZoo Cryptid Nation event kit ×2 if people actually want to try with 2 players for these non-magic games. If you're sick of magic like many of us are, these are some good games to get into. But I did a video on that over at the Gone Rogue Games channel. So most of my drops will end up here. Come over, subscribe to Gone Rogue Games, click that bell icon, and if you want to get in on these drops, this is the best way to do so. And I'll try to... So what I do with a lot of these non-magic products too, or even magic, is sometimes I can't order products. Like I can't just go on a website, click, I want this, and order. What will happen is a distributor will call me up and say, hey, Kevin, I've got a case of Evolving Skies Elite Trainer boxes at $300. Do you want it? And then right then and there, I have to say yes. And if I don't, if I pass on it, that's it. That's end of game there. I can't get it again. And so what I've been doing for a while is sometimes when I get these good deals, I say yes, and then I'll get a big overstock of these type of stuff, and then I need to, of course, move them. And that's how the drops will come into play. Is I'll pick together products that I like. I'm not going to try to sell you garbage. Like everything over here from these non-magic intro kit, I think are a great way to get into these games. Like MetaZoo Cryptid Nation's the best set in my opinion. Pokemon Lost Origins is actually a pretty fun set. I actually like the mechanics of it, and a build and battle stadium is a great way for 2 players to get into it. And of course, the Flesh and Blood Classic Battles Dorinthia versus Rhinar is just 2 ready to go decks that are pretty good, really well balanced, and a great way to get into the game. So I'm not going to try to move trash on you. I'm not going to try to sell you my overstock Yu-Gi-Oh! I might every now and again, but for the most part, these are going to be good drops. They're going to save you money over what they would cost on TCC Market. And like I said, it's just a good symbiotic relationship for us to establish. So again, 2 things for you to do. Go over to Gone Rogue Games channel, click the subscribe button, go back over to patreon.com/roguedeckbuilder. I'd love to have you as a patron. It just puts my mind at ease knowing I have that static income, and it's a lot of my patrons have been with me for 3 to 4 years. I mean, I've had hundreds of patrons now for years and years that have been with me through the good times and the bad. So anyway, what else was I talking about? In conclusion, I am thinking this is a good move for Flesh and Blood to receive such, praise. And if you actually go on Twitter, like all the people ranting out Magic, you'll see people say, come to Flesh and Blood, come to Flesh and Blood, which again, I don't know. It is like a specific gamer that is going to be attracted to Flesh and Blood. It's never going to be Magic. It just doesn't have the complexity that Magic does. However, that's not to say it doesn't have a specific space that it can take, and I think it will be successful. The main thing of Flesh and Blood is they need to basically learn how to crawl before they sprint, and they need to really evaluate the actual demand and not get sucked in to these FOMO market manipulations, these Dutch tuliping. They need to just resist that urge, Flesh and Blood. Resist it, and don't get suckered back into the people that are going to pump and dump your stuff and kind of crash the game. So looks like they've got their bearings together. Looks like they're making the right moves. I am re-endorsing Flesh and Blood as well. It's something I'm going to try to get going again here at my local scene. We'll see. Richfield's just a tiny place with can barely support Magic, so it's hard for us to support these other games. But it's fun to venture into these. But yeah, I'm going to definitely do a deep dive back in this game and give it another shot to see if it's something I want to continue to create content for. Anyway, that is my spiel. I'd love to know your comments in the comment section below of what you think of this. I will do my best to revive this channel and start giving you market updates. I think we're in a very interesting time for Magic the Gathering when we have $3 commons in standard, like $2 considers, and like even Deadly Disputes recovering from Baldur's Gate. That just means there's a lot of opportunity for just Magic the Gathering singles in general. I was very surprised at Dominaria with a lot of rares that are holding huge price tags for seeing very little play, comparatively speaking. So what that indicates to me is that people aren't doing mass box openings, that everything is going to like the collector's editions, the Warhammer boxes, stuff like that, the 30th anniversary set. So it actually will have like a nice little there was a long time period where with the mass box openings, it was really rough for any cards, Commander or Standard, to go up in value. But now going back to the trend, seeing a new Commander deck come out, or a new Standard deck, or a new Pioneer deck, there is a lot of opportunity for cards to double up or triple up, or even without the quick spikes, just the kind of tried, tested, and true, just month by month, week by week increases on these like staples from Pioneer and Commander. So I'm going to go back to that. That's what this channel was all about, was manage your collection. So I'm going to hopefully get back into doing those type of videos. Appreciate everyone that's stayed with me for so long here. I'm looking forward to your comments in the comment section below, and looking for just yeah. That's my spiel. Kevin with the Rogue Deck Builder. Thanks for watching.